really, really encourage you to realize God has a plan. And He'll give you what you want. That's my favorite saying. He'll give you what you want. He'll never give you when you want it and how you want it. But He'll give you what you want.
Yeah. That's good.
So you just got to be patient.
To some of our American listeners, this statement might sound like a well-worn cliche. We have heard all of our lives that God has a plan and we simply have to wait on Him. But Samee Dowlatshahi, whose voice you just heard, has a very different perspective. From the day he came to the United States at age 15, Samee had to build his life on that reality.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Kelly Archibald, and I'd like to welcome you to Qavah the podcast, your source of inspiration, empowerment, and profound insights into the art of Qavah. Now you might be wondering, what is Qavah? It hails from Hebrew, and it embodies the concept of waiting with eager anticipation and hopeful expectancy. In a world that constantly seems to rush us, Qavah the podcast invites you to pause, to embrace the beauty of anticipation, and to explore the profound wisdom found in waiting. The accounts shared on this podcast, including this episode, reflect the guests' thoughtful recollections and opinions of experiences perceived and occurring over many years, including childhood memories which may be fallible and limited by perspective and trauma. Persons may have different memories regarding certain events.
Samee's life began in Tehran, the capital of Iran. So when he talks about waiting on God for what he wants, he means waiting on God for friends, money to buy food, and the ability to speak a brand new language in a foreign country. Waiting on God meant working 80 to 90 hours a week when Samee first arrived in the United States, doing everything he could to make ends meet for himself and his family. Because even then, as strangers in a new land, they had to trust God to make a way. You see, Samee was never a quitter.
I was never picked to succeed. When I was younger, I used to get in trouble all the time. So my family even picked me not to make it past age 25. I used to get in fights all the time. And
Oh,
when
wow.
I was a kid, I was not I wouldn't be told what to do. I didn't want to be told what to do. So therefore, it's, I was not a problem. I tell my parents all the time. It's like, I apologize all the time for what kind of kid I was, because I was not the greatest kid.
Okay.
But that came from where I was from. I was,
Right.
I was brought up in a rough neighborhood. I was, with my 5 foot nothing, I had to be that way. So I
Right.
don't get bullied.
Right.
So I had a very, very tough exterior. So throughout, I was picked that, okay, he'll never make it. And then when I got older, it's like, okay, well, when I remember one of my biggest conversations in probably Thanksgivings or whatever, there's always that question, like, so what are you going to do with your life? Are you always going to wait on tables? Are you always going to bartend? I used to take offense to that because I really loved doing what I did.
Right.
So I'm like, so to me, it was all about money. It's like, what do you make? I remember, we had I never forget, there's like this guy who was, architect and, whatever. It's like, so everybody's like, always, waiting on him, whatever. So it's like, he's like the guy that, he's got masters and he's an architect and he's making all that, whatever. So he used to always ask me, so Samee, what are you going to do with your life, man? So are you always going to bartend? Are you always going to wait tables? And I used to always ask him, like, middle of the dance, what do you make, man? What do you make? What do you bring home? That's what I want to know.
Right.
And he told me, and I go, I'll make that in 3 days.
Oh,
I was like, and I remember that, and I'm like, to me, it was always like, okay, when you come from nothing, the money that you make, how hard you work, what you make, it was never for me about budgeting for what I make. It was always about, okay, what do I want? I'm going to work for it to get it. And that's what's going to happen.
Waiting for Samee was anything but sitting on the sidelines. Even if his beginnings were humble, and even if his dream looked different from what some people expected, he knew what he wanted. He went after it and expected God to clear his path. Welcome to Qavah.
So tell me, what is your first memory?
Oh my goodness. Very first memory, I guess I was back in Iran. I was
Okay.
born in Tehran.
Okay.
And, I grew up in a house where, my dad was a drug addict.
Okay.
So, it was fun. I mean, I forgave him for everything he did, but he loved to party. So I think that's part of me that became a bartender and had such a success. Probably had a lot to do with
Right.
watching him work the room, I guess. And he was. I mean, we had good memories, bad memories. I mean, it was a rough childhood. So grew up really poor. Even though my grandfather was a pretty well off, my dad pretty much blew it all away. So
Okay.
on drugs and alcohol. So
Okay.
he loved to party.
So who was in your family of origin? Was your dad?
My dad, my mom, my older brother, 2 years older brother. He's like my best friend,
Oh,
person I rely on. So, and then my younger brother, which is 9 years younger than me, and that was our family of 5.
Okay.
Samee had no say in how his life started. He couldn't control his humble beginnings in a rough neighborhood of Tehran without a lot of money to go around. Unfortunately, those choices were made by his father, who spent their money on his addictions. Samee also had no control over what happened to his country when he was a teenager.
So you lived in Tehran. What
Yes.
was that like?
It was a busy city. A lot of people, they see the media, version of Iran, and they see, camels, and there's
Right.
nothing like that.
Right.
It's like New York. It's like, people drive Mercedes just like anybody else there. They're well-off people and they're poor people. It's just like any other city. The economy went through the revolution. So I was a teenager when that happened.
Okay. And so what was that? That was
It was,
Overtaken.
it's overtaken, and became a religious government.
The Iranian Revolution, also known as the Islamic Revolution, was a series of events that culminated in the overthrow of the Pahlavi dynasty under Shah Muhammad Reza Pahlavi and the replacement of his government with an Islamic republic under Ayatollah Khomeini.
There was no freedom. So there's no freedom of speech. There's no freedom.
Right.
Basically, whatever the government wants, that's what you need to say. If you don't say it, then basically you get reprimanded for it.
Okay.
If you're against the government, they pretty much come into your house, take everything, and all that kind of stuff. But so you pretty much, there's no freedom basically.
Okay. So was your family of the faith that took over the government?
Yeah, actually, my mom's still a Muslim.
Okay.
I'm a Christian, so
Okay.
it's all good. We all have
Yeah.
our own personal religious beliefs.
Right.
And,
Right. So that was for your family. That persecution, religious persecution, maybe didn't happen.
It didn't
Okay.
happen.
In the midst of all this chaos, Samee's dad did make one very important choice for what he could control. He chose to take all of the remaining money and spend it on a radical hope for something better.
So, but what happened was there was no future.
Oh, okay.
So when my dad looked at it, at that point, the universities were closed,
Oh,
schools
wow.
were closed. So there's no future. As a father, he looked at it and he's like, okay, there's no future.
Wow.
So he then basically sold everything and got us out of the country.
Wow.
Me, my mom, and my little brother, we escaped the country.
Okay, so how old were you?
I was 14 or 15.
Okay, so you attended school up to that point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was in school. I was really good in soccer. I had a soccer scholarship, but it all went away because of the revolution.
Oh,
And soccer
my
scholarship to
goodness.
Europe. Yeah, I was one of the 12 people that played soccer for the city of Tehran at the age of 15.
Oh my goodness.
10th grade, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's one of those things. So that's one of my good memories that I remember.
Yeah. That's so then you left the country.
Yeah.
And what was that like? Were you
Horrible.
scared?
Yeah, we had to escape the country in the middle of the night.
Oh my
with
goodness.
my 6-year-old brother. Tried to tell him to be quiet at 1 o'clock in the morning in the middle of the desert. And that, it was not,
Were you in a car? Were you
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So there are people that they're in the country that they get paid to get you across. They live in that area by the border of the Pakistan and Iran. So they get paid. So basically my dad sold everything and paid these guys to get us across. So once we got
Wow.
across, we flew to France. We had a cousin that lived there.
Okay.
And then we applied for a visa to come to US. My brother was already here as an exchange student.
Wow.
So he was already studying, he was in university already here. So we joined him here. It took a while. There's a lot of uncertainty because you can't go back,
No.
and if you get caught when you're leaving, there's no due process like it is in the US.
Right.
So a lot of times it's like, I think in here we take our freedom very, very lightly. We take it, we don't take it for what it is. So anyway, so there's no court, there's no thing. Basically, if they see you escaping the country, they shoot you on the spot. So, so when we left the country, it was in the middle of the night. My mom, me, and my little brother. My dad had to stay behind because you couldn't give any kind of thing that, you escaping the country.
Okay, so your dad stayed in Tehran.
Yes, he stayed
Oh
behind.
my, so it's just the three of you.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
probably
poor
not the
mom.
greatest. Yeah.
That's so scary.
It was. Because when you get to Pakistan, nothing against the people that live there, but I remember the drive from there to their capital city was, you have these pit stops, and every stop you had to bribe people because they knew there was an exit stamp on your thing, so they knew if they repaired your back, they kill you, so they know that you know that, so you had to pay a bribe, that to just get through. So I remember getting there. I remember flying out of there to France. I was never first so relieved in my life. So once we got to France, we stayed with my cousin for about a month, and until we were able to apply for a visa to U.S. and try to come here and start a new life.
Wow. So had you traveled much before then?
That was my first time on there.
That's what I was thinking. Like, oh my goodness.
Because we grew pretty poor. We didn't fly anywhere.
Right.
We drove everywhere. We took a bus everywhere.
Wow. And
So,
yes.
Yeah.
So that's because flying's kind of scary anyway. And then you're
yeah, we
all-
couldn't afford to. Yeah, so we couldn't afford flying. So that's why
Wow.
my first airplane I got into, that was it.
So you're what, 15 or
15,
so? And
yes.
you fly from France.
From Pakistan to France, and then from France to here.
Okay, so what part of the United
I remember when
States?
we got here, I told my mom, I was like, if anything happens, like when we leave in, I was like, I'm not going back the same way. Because it was horrible. But
Yeah.
it was probably the 2 months. Yeah, but all these things you go through, it builds character. So
Yes.
it builds immune system
Right.
to
Right.
hardship. So
Right.
to me, as scary as it was, it kind of taught me not to be scared. I mean, things don't scare me much anymore because I've been through that.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So, yeah, it's so when we came here, we lived in Fremont, California for about 8 months. That's when my brother was.
Samee's family had laid a foundation of faith for a new life, but it required everything they possibly could give. Even when no one around them believed they could do it, Samee rose to the challenge.
And that, to me, that's what got me through. Like, what got me through is being told I couldn't
Wow.
all my life.
Wow.
Like, you can't speak English, you're not gonna make it.
Yeah, where did you learn English?
Here, I
Okay.
never forget. First day I went to school, all I could say when people asked me a question, I would tell them I don't speak English, and I just sat there watching. And what happens? You hear the language, and you hear it, and the first thing you know, you would start understanding it. And then
Right.
once you start understanding it, then you start speaking it. And
Okay.
when you start speaking it, you kind of speak that, I call it broken English.
Right.
And then after a while, like I've been here since 1982, so after a while you start speaking it. But when I got here, I couldn't speak English.
Wow.
We had no money.
Wow.
I remember we used to live in a apartment where kids weren't allowed.
Oh.
Yeah, because that's all we could afford.
Wow.
So I remember every time the manager or landlord, everybody knock on the door, I had to go hide in the closet because I'm not supposed to be there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
So,
crazy.
so you didn't have any help from the UN or anybody like that.
Nobody.
You just were on your own.
Nobody.
Wow.
We left the country with $5,000 in our pocket.
Whoa.
And that was for everything, to pay for the airplane, everything to get here, and all the bribery in Pakistan and all that. So when we got here, we lived with my brother. My brother was working at Jack in the Box. He was a shift manager, and he got me a job there.
In
So
California.
yeah, in California. So I would go to school from like 8 to 12, and then I would run because we didn't have a car. There was no
Right.
ride. I had to be at work I would get off at 3, I had to be at work at 4, and it was like 5 miles away. So the minute that bell rang, I was running, not jogging, running, because I had no friends. I couldn't speak English. I couldn't get a ride. So I would run like to work every single day, work all night, and then come home, and then go the next day, same thing. So after a while, once I started speaking English, started making friends, so my friends would give me a ride to work, that kind of thing. But at the beginning, it was all about run to work, and then we worked 7 days a week, and between my income, and then my mom was an accountant, so she started getting a job. So we put all our income together to pay the rent and pay for the food and everything else. So my mom probably one of the most selfless people I've ever met. Mm-hmm. So from her, the amount of forgiveness that she has in her, it's amazing.
Wow.
Especially what she went through with her dad. So
wow.
I definitely admire her.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she's definitely amazing. So I remember at the beginning when they kind of broke up, I was mad at her. Mm-hmm. I was like, does my dad come here now? The family's back together, and you're trying to break it up, not thinking what she's been through.
Right.
So as you go, you realize, okay, So I told you I got a lot.
You do have a lot.
Yeah.
Once Samee's family got their footing in the United States, Samee took an opportunity to move from California to Texas. Once he was there, he started to really hone in on the kind of work he enjoyed.
And then my cousins lived here, so they come to Texas.
Okay.
So we came to Texas. I got into restaurant business early on. Waiting tables, washing dishes, whatever it took. I remember I even baked. I was a baker overnight in the summer because my family owned a little French bakery. So I worked there, and overnight I'll be making like Black Forest cakes or croissants and things like that. But when we get to the waiting part of it, that's when I found, I really loved waiting on people. I really did. I don't know if it's because of my childhood, waiting on my dad when he brought his friends over or what.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so I really liked the restaurant business, and I really digged it. And my brothers went to university. I kind of took the restaurant path. So I worked in the restaurants, and I remember basically coming in here, I realized I'm in a place where there is no obstacle to get what you want. Mm-hmm. You just got to work for it, which is different from where I came from. No matter how hard you work for it, there's always obstacles. There's a stop what you can do. It's not, you can get what you want as long as you work hard for it. It doesn't exist everywhere. It just exists here in the United States. So I realized if I want something, I got to work for it. So pretty much work 80, 90 hours a week all my life. So I work in the restaurant business, and
So you came from California to the Metroplex.
Yes.
And then you started just
whatever
job you could
North
get.
Dallas. Yes. So I worked in a lot of places. I worked in Bay Street Cafe Capri. There's a lot of restaurants in North Dallas that I worked for Applebee's for a long time.
Okay.
I was corporate trainer. I used to train people and all that kind of stuff. I was really good at what I did. So
you found your sweet spot.
I did, and I was making good money, and my tips were always good. But mainly to me, my approach wasn't about waiting on people. It was making friends. Mm-hmm. So throughout the years, a lot of my customers, they became like family.
Wow.
Whatever restaurant I went into, they followed me. Wherever I came to, they followed me. So it's a lot of the stuff happened throughout the years. You look back at it now. Before you're like, oh, okay, well, this is what happened because it just happened. So good might believe that everything happens for a reason.
Right.
I believe there's a bigger plan in place now that I'm where I'm at.
And he was just getting started. On the next episode of Qavah, Samee goes on to build even greater things and witness God move powerfully in his life. His life shows that no matter where you start from or the things that are out of your control, God will make a way if you do the hard work of waiting.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Qavah the podcast. Be sure to download episodes and subscribe to Qavah wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode filled with inspiring stories and unwavering determination. If you'd like to become a sponsor, have a story of hope that you'd like to share, or know someone whose journey deserves to be heard, we invite you to reach out to us at qavahpodcast.com. That's QAVAH podcast.com. Until next time, may your journey be filled with renewed hope, and may you continue to find strength in the stories we share.